So we've gone over cleaning your computer and cleaning your monitors, but something that you're touching probably more than most things is your keyboard. And keyboards can get notoriously dirty. They're infamous for getting stuff stuck in them. Lots of crumbs, all of your food, if you like eating in front of your computer, which I personally do. And they're something that a lot of people don't take the time to clean. Hey, what's up everyone, Caddac here, and today we're going to go over how to clean your keyboards. I'm going to show you how I typically clean my keyboards. We're going to grab one of my older keyboards that I'm not using right now, but I haven't cleaned it since I stopped using it. It was my main keyboard for a long time. We'll go over cleaning that. We're going to bring back our old friend, the microfiber cloth, and our air duster, and we'll use another few tools as well, and I'll go over that in the video. Alright, so first things first, have a nice good clean area. With cleaning the keyboard, you may get a lot of like crumbs and stuff that'll fall out of it. So for me, I'm actually going to use this little food tray I get from IKEA. I have a whole bunch of these. I use them when I 3D print. But they're also very good to just do like little tiny pieces of work on where you don't want things going everywhere. So we'll have that. And we'll use my old Ducky keyboard because I haven't cleaned this since I stopped using it. I'm currently using the drop control keyboard and I'm really enjoying it. But if you can tell, they have a very different design. The Ducky has this, a very typical design where there's a shell around the components. So it's a lot easier for things to get stuck in there. Whereas with my drop control, there isn't as much of a space for things to get stuck unless it's by the switches. So it's a lot easier to clean this board. So we're going to go with a more difficult one for the video. So the first thing I suggest you do is pull off a few keycaps if you can. It'll really help with cleaning out a lot of these parts and it'll make the first step really easy. So I'm going to go ahead and grab one of my keycap pullers. I have a whole bunch of these. If you have a mechanical keyboard, you most likely got one of these in the box. If you don't have a mechanical keyboard, you can usually use like the toothpick or even something like a small fork, and you can usually pry up one of the keys. But the keycap pullers make it a lot easier. So what I typically do is I'll try to pull off the space bar and the 0 on the numpad. These are just the biggest keys, and it allows the most amount of space. So pull that up there. Grab the other side too, why not? And we'll do our 0. Alright. Now what this does is it kind of gives the space for crumbs and stuff to come out. And all we're going to do right now is we're just going to flip this over. We're going to lean it here, and we're just going to give it a few pats on the back, like a little baby. And you may get some crumbs and stuff coming out. Oops. And now we didn't get the most amount of stuff out here. I do clean these out quite often, so there shouldn't be too much behind there. But there's a little bit on here that came out. Depending on how much you eat by your keyboard and whatnot, there might be more, there might be less. So that is the first step, and usually it can do a pretty good job. You can see underneath the keys there is a little bit of dust, but it's not too bad actually, considering there's a lot of surface dust on here. And what you could do is with a dry microfiber cloth, you can give all of this a wipe. But the problem with doing that is that, one, the microfiber cloth doesn't really get in between the keys very well, and two, you don't really get underneath the keys as well. So you'll see underneath here, like there will be a dust buildup that I can't really get to with the microfiber cloth. So if you do want to do a full clean of your keyboard, maybe you haven't cleaned it in a while, it is time consuming, but take all the keycaps off. What you can do is you can actually throw the keycaps in some warm water with some diluted soap, give those a little swish around, If you want, put them in a bowl. Move your hands through the bowl. Try to get everything as clean as possible, and then let those air dry. Don't dry them with a blow dryer. Don't dry them don't put them in your dishwasher. Don't do anything like that because you can warp your keys. Just give them a good air dry, and usually that's a really good way to clean these. And I think I'm actually going to do that with this keyboard. I'm going to take all my keys off and clean them that way. Then you can go ahead and you can use your microfiber cloth, and you can really get in there and clean the base plate and the back plate for your keyboard. So yeah, I'm going to pull off all these keycaps, and you'll see what it looks like once I do so. Before I take all the keys off, I should actually mention that this is where the air canister actually comes in really handy. If you do have a couple of the keys off, you can start blasting some air in there and clear out a lot of the debris that might be caught underneath the keys. What you want to try to do is blast the air towards where you've removed the keycaps, so that you're not blasting stuff into the keycaps and getting them caught and stuck in there again. You can just take your air canister, make sure you keep it right side up. You don't want to have it upside down. You want to make sure that it's staying right side up so that it doesn't blow out any of the liquid. And you would just take it and blow some air into it and try to get out as much as you can. Now, with how long this keyboard has been sitting around and the dust that is sitting in here, it is a little bit sticky, and blowing it out isn't going to really do much for me here. So that's why I'm going to go through the process of taking all the keys off and giving it a good clean properly with everything removed, just so I can get into the nooks and crannies a little bit more easily. Now, unfortunately, if your keyboard does not have removable keycaps, this entire process is much more difficult. You can use compressed air to try to get as much of that out as you can, and you can also use one of those keyboard goops that you kind of like roll over the keys and it tries to pick up as much as you can. But in those situations, you are a little bit more restricted in terms of how much you can clean. Just try your best. Compressed air really helps. Tipping it over and just smacking the back of it can also do quite a bit as well, but you are limited and you may not be able to get it as clean as something like a mechanical keyboard where you could pull it apart. All right, so we've got all of our keys off and we're left with the keyboard here. Now, a tool that I forgot to mention at the beginning of the video that is also very useful at this point is a brush. You can get a very expensive specialty brush, but what I typically use the brush for is just to loosen up all of the dust and debris that's in between all of the switches, and that really helps when I decide to blast it with more air and give it a wipe down with the Q-tips and the microfiber cloth. So this just helps loosen up everything, makes it a lot easier. So what I usually do is I'll give it a quick brush everywhere, and then I'll bang it out again. I'm getting quite a few more pieces there. I'm not going to worry about getting anything on my mouse pad because next video is actually going to be how to clean your mouse pad. People really don't think about cleaning their mouse pads, but if you can write words on your mouse pad, it's dirty and you need to clean it. Anyways, back to this. So we've been able to get a little bit off there. Now, if you see this white stuff on my stabilizers, that is just lubricant. I used some white lithium to lubricate my stabilizers a little while ago. This keyboard is quite old. I've had it since 2014. It's been an absolute workhorse. It is an incredible keyboard. I really enjoy Ducky boards. This thing has gone through a lot. I've spilt an entire coffee or espresso on it. I pulled it apart, separated the board from the rest of the keyboard. I actually cleaned that, and it still works absolutely wonderful to this day. But yeah, let's go on and finish cleaning. So before we really start cleaning anything, this is the perfect time to hit it with some compressed air. Now that everything's off, it's very easy to get in there and smack it with some compressed air. So again, make sure that you keep your compressed air vertical. Do not turn it upside down. Do not turn it sideways. That's how you get the condensation to come out, and you don't want that all over your keyboard. And just give it some good sprays. I'm going to go and do it over a garbage can just to make sure that I don't get everything all over the place on my desk. But short bursts, give it some sprays. You should be able to get most of that dirt out, and then you can just clean it up real nice with the Q-tips and the microfiber cloth. So now what we're going to do is actually pull out the IPA, and what I typically do is I will pour it into the cap, like so. Put that down here. I'll dip my Q-tip in there. Squeeze it out so it's not dripping. And now I'll just go in between my keys. And give that a clean. Now you can see, I don't know how well it's showing up on my camera. I am using my phone as a top-down camera here. But it is getting significantly cleaner in these first keys. And the nice thing about IPA is that it evaporates pretty quickly. So you don't have to worry about letting it air dry for too long. But yeah, I basically go in between all of the keys like this. Give them all a good wipe. And then when I feel the Q-tip kind of drying out, I'll switch over. Since this one's getting a little bit dirty now, I'll switch over to the other side. And usually I end up going through maybe 2-3 Q-tips to clean my keyboard. Small price to pay. Now that we've done that, I'm just gonna give it a quick wipe. I got it pretty clean, honestly, with just the microfiber cloth. The only problem with Q-tips is sometimes you'll get little pieces of the cotton stuck. So make sure you pick out those. And yeah. Now you can dampen your microfiber cloth with some warm water and very diluted soap if your case needs a good cleaning. Mine is pretty good. So I'm not going to worry too much about that. And yeah, so all I'm going to do now is I'm going to take all of my keys here. I'm going to throw these into a bowl with some warm water and, again, diluted soap. Swish them around a little bit. Let them sit in there. Rinse them off a few times. And then let them air dry for the next couple of days. And because I don't use this keyboard on the daily, I can do that without really worrying about it. And yeah, that's basically cleaning the keyboard as much as you can. Again, if you have one of those little keyboard goops, you can use those as well. They're not the greatest, but they're not the worst. I personally never use those, and I try to avoid using those just because they get pretty gross and you can't really clean them out all that well. And that's it. Cleaning your keyboard can be a lengthy process, but it's very much worth doing, and the more often that you clean anything, including your keyboard, the less intense you have to clean it, and it just helps with that maintenance. So I typically clean my keyboard once every couple months, but it really depends. You know, if you look at it and it looks kind of crummy, I highly suggest you clean it. If you ended up finding this video helpful, I'd really appreciate it if you like, subscribed. If you have any questions, comments, or feedback, feel free to leave those down below. I try to answer them all as quickly as possible, or refer you to somewhere where you can get that answer. As always, I stream on Twitch from Friday until Tuesday. Come check me out and say hello. I'd love to see you there, and if you have any questions, you're more than welcome to ask me on the live stream. Thanks again for watching the end of the video. Stay safe out there, and I'll see you next Friday.